Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. I'm your host, Charlie. I'm joined once again by the political cover himself, Zelius.
Sup?
The Thursday Night Hangout, of course, is your weekly show, live show, where we try our best to cover the topics that are most important to you with you during our show. If you haven't submitted your topic, question, etc., have no fear. You can drop them in the chat, and we will add it to our topic list for the show. If unfortunately, we run out of time, these topics will be added to the beginning of next week's show.
There's always another week. Wait. I may not be at next week's show.
Son of a bitch! Way to ruin things, Zelius.
What?
Said, way to ruin things.
You know, there's things in life I live for, and one of them is to ruin your life.
Touche. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, let's get into some of the news. First of all, some crazy, crazy stuff. I know everyone loves the Kia, or I should say the IKEA. And it turns out that IKEA is going to have a gamer set of gamer gear. Really, they're going to introduce a new line of furniture and gear for gamers. It's going to be 30 different pieces of, I think it's 30 products, both big and small. There are 6 product families, and I am not going to try to pronounce them because they're just trying to dick with people. The way they name things.
It's in Swedish.
It's like Oopspell and Matspell and Groupspell and Hoodfood-spellar. There you go.
I see lots of LEDs.
I'm sure there is. Let's see here. Let's see. Gaming desks and chairs, some smaller accessories like a ring light for streamers, or a neck pillow and mug holder for making sitting at the desk a little more comfy. Okay. Well, I don't really need a mug holder, but I could use a drink holder, I guess.
You know, it's actually bizarre. It is kind of cool that they actually did partner with Republic of Gamers, the ROG of Aces.
Yeah.
To get some, gamer geared stuff going, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But the strange thing is, I was actually at IKEA a couple months ago because I was looking to, get, a side table or upgrade my desk a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And, they seem to have really shrunken their office space over the last year or so.
Maybe it's because they're making room for the gaming collection, which is coming in October 2021.
I was thinking that it's more like they're making room for their kitchen.
They already got enough kitchens.
Oh, their kitchen section has grown, good sir.
Exactly. They don't need no more kitchens.
Apparently, everyone wants a new kitchen right now from IKEA.
Okay, so I apparently... Okay.
But I am interested. I like IKEA stuff. I mean, I'm on a nice IKEA desk right now. Some nice solid wood. And actually, a bunch of our desks in our robotics lab are from IKEA. Nice, good. I mean, you can't go wrong with their solid butcher block wood.
As long as you can follow the instructions on assembly.
It's really not that hard. It's actual pictures. You look at the picture. Imagine you're Egyptian for a minute, deciphering hieroglyphics. It's really pretty simple.
That does not stop people from assembling it upside down.
I have one very, very simple rule with assembling IKEA furniture.
What's that?
If I'm helping somebody, there's no discussing how to assemble it with me. It's my way, or I don't help at all.
Or the highway, baby.
It's because that is how you get into fights. That is how you lose family members. That is how knifing's happening with the Allen wrench. Is over fighting over, in your view, the deciphering of their building. So you have to have one person who is going to decide this is the only way you're allowed to build it, because the instant somebody disagrees, that's when all hell breaks loose with IKEA furniture.
So I apparently missed. They give an additional accessory lower down in this article, and that is a mouse bungee.
What?
Yeah. Speaking of bungee, the composer behind basically Halo's most iconic songs just got sued for, I think, $100,000 by Bungie for stealing some music.
So the guy who created the music for Bungie is getting sued for stealing music from Bungie.
Well, it's their. The thing is,
I know
they.
technically they're in the copyright, but still,
Yeah, exactly. Which is
it's kind of funny.
weird, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, I I don't know.
Speaking of weird, okay, we're gonna we're the next one. This next one is some more bizarre stuff for the consumer, and that is Razer, the company that basically pumps out high-end gaming devices, has just announced an amazing accessory for those who like to game on their touchscreen phones. And that, my friends, is the Gaming Finger Sleeve. It is designed to absorb sweat and thus reduce friction on the screen to help you max out performance. So you get to wear fancy sweat absorbing thumb condoms with Razer written on the back.
That is some very intense, like, idle RPGing, man. I mean, that must be the best, like, RPG game ever.
Well, actually, they're recommending their game that they're highlighting is Fortnite and other fast-paced mobile games.
I've never played Fortnite on my cell phone, and one of the things is on my phone, I cannot get behind like the action-paced games on my phone where my fingers covering it up. Makes it very difficult for me.
Like, very difficult for you. Have you seen my paws? These fuckers are huge.
So like I'll play like the idle RPG games or like the strategy games. Those I'm fine with. And like if I were that into Fortnite, let's just say it was like if I was that intense with Fortnite where I needed like finger condoms, I would actually get like one of those contraptions where like basically you dock it into your phone and basically it turns it into the joysticks for the Bluetooth. That's what I would get if I were that into Fortnite on my phone.
Jay Stev says Fortnite on mobile is a joke. And to be honest with you, it probably is. It's a money grab. Speaking of Fortnite, though, let's talk about the conflicting news headlines around Epic and Apple.
The fun never ceases.
So, wait. Sam said John Fogerty sued by CCR for singing his own songs.
Clarence Clearwater Revival.
I know what CCR stands for.
I was like, you know what that is.
He was the lead singer for a while. I mean, he was the lead singer. But anyways, so, there's this mega lawsuit that Epic files against Apple, basically saying, the way that Apple handles in-game payment, you got to utilize their payment gate. You're not allowed to have like a third-party way of getting stuff. Like if you're on your PC, when you make purchases, you are buying straight from that company. You don't have to go through the App Store payment, which of course, if you do that, Apple keeps some of the money because of transaction fees.
Big money.
So here's the thing. If you look across the internet, you'll get two different stories. One says, Epic with huge victory. And then you also get Apple with huge victory. So, here's the deal. Yes, a company is legally, until, there's an appeal, if you have your own pay gate, you are allowed to utilize it on the Apple platform. However, Apple's App Store is not considered a monopoly. So you can't add like a Steam or like an Epic game, game launcher. You have to utilize the App Store, which I'm totally okay with, because if you take that out of the equation, the amount of, I don't know, scamware and malware and ransomware will skyrocket and lock your phone in a heartbeat.
Like, I mean, the logic of it actually makes sense to me. Where, one of the reasons I do get an iPhone is I like the fact it is just the App Store. It's built in. I don't have to deal with other random stuff. It's just there. I know where it's all curated. Well, curation has many connotations in this regard, but it's there. But at the same time, now the in-game app purchases, I can now also purchase those outside. I know like Fortnite's a big one, or Epic Games, or like Spotify, I know will love this decision.
Yep.
Or now they can redirect you to the payment system outside of there. My, naive prediction probably is, well, Apple doesn't like that part of it because obviously they want that sweet 30% across the board.
Because a lot of games are going to in-app purchases.
Yeah, but most people are just going to use the native in-app purchase from Apple regardless because it's just easier. It's already built into their payment. It already has their thumb pin attached to it. So that's my prediction is most people aren't going to be phased one way or the other. It's really what is simplest. And if everything is already tied into the Apple purchase and now their Apple credit card, of course, if that's that's right there and built in, I think that's what most people will use still.
To be honest with you, I think you're for the most part correct. I think that if it's a game that's on multiple platforms that already has that payment gateway built in, you're going to see that being added to the games that are on the App Store. But if you're talking about too many, there's so many games out there that basically are going to nickel and dime you or try to give you cool stuff to try to enhance your game or remove ads. They're just going to use the Apple gateway because they don't want to have to deal with issues if the gateway gets fucked up.
Yeah.
It's safer for them to just go with Apple because if it gets fucked up, it's Apple's problem, not the developer. Because let's be honest, the vast majority of developers in a perfect world would be making bank, but most developers are not that, super duper financially stable. So, but
from what I read, it made it sound like developers could not have an in-app gateway inside the app itself. What they could do is have the link to an external source.
You and I read it differently because I felt like you could do it that was the point, was that you could do it in app. If you could do it from external source, then you could have done it beforehand because all you need would be to buy it on your computer, get the key ID, and then just type it into your phone and ta-da, purchase.
So say like Spotify, right?
Yeah.
It is previously, Spotify could not even give you a link or tell you to, hey, go purchase at Spotify and you'll get 30% off. They could not even do that inside the app.
Well,
whereas now,
if it's tied to your account, if you make the 30% off, they set the prices.
But Apple was not allowed to tell you that. No, Spotify was not allowed to tell you that inside the app itself. Like that was what Epic was basically arguing was, so up until now, Spotify could not even say it was against the TOS of Apple that Spotify will give you, Charlie, 30% off if you use my gateway inside the app or external, it doesn't matter. You are not even allowed to do that as a developer. You cannot even say, go elsewhere.
Okay, so that makes no sense. If you are cross-platform, you cannot stop that. Okay?
But the problem was on the App Store specifically, yes, you could. Apple said you are not allowed to tell people on the App Store itself.
Right.
To go
you can't tell them, but that doesn't stop the people from going to a different platform. If it's cross-platform,
people aren't going to go elsewhere unless directed.
Okay, Spotify, in my opinion, is not really a very good example because most people, yes, a lot of people use it on their cell phone, but there's a shit ton of them that also use it on their PC throughout the day. And so you're going to see that. Jay Stev says licenses is the key here. That's why if you purchase something on a platform, it's tied to that platform. But if you're sharing data like your preferences or likes and dislikes, and if you're a member that has a paid version of it or not, then you could tie that kind of stuff in. Of course, I'm sure that Apple will find a way to dick everyone over. Gee, that would be different.
You fancy.
So,
I mean, really, from a consumer perspective, like, I'm fine with it. Like, it may take over the developer. I fully admit that. But
the
from a
developer's been
consumer
dicked
perspective,
over forever.
like, for me, it's fine. Like,
As a consumer, you're not gonna. It doesn't financially hinder you because you utilized what's available, and you were able to create. You were able to gain what you were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of du monnaie, we know that cryptocurrency is there, and then of course the rise of this thing called NFT. I'm surprised this hasn't happened sooner. There is at least one, and I'm sure that there's a dozen more out there of entrepreneurs, let's say. Jace Dev, customers hold the power, but they have broken that code. That's why they win. Touche. So NFTs, which are, oh my God, what the hell does NFT stand for?
I don't actually know what it stands for.
Non-fungible tokens.
Yeah, that sounds fancy.
I still don't really grasp the whole thing of it, but basically you could pay for like exclusive rights to something. I guess, I don't know. It's really weird, but there was a company that got in some serious ass trouble recently because they were giving NFTs of like art that was not theirs. And the developer, someone told the developer that, hey man, this stuff is yours, and they were like, hey, you need to stop that. And of course the seller goes, oh yeah, absolutely. So he steals more stuff from the artist, different stuff. You're like, really?
Like, everything with like the whole like world of cryptocurrency is just like the crazy Wild West.
Yeah.
As far as all that goes, I mean, it's like, at least with like, your bank with like Wells Fargo or whatever, like your money's kind of protected against like basically the money, like whatever happening. But something like a wallet like Coinbase, like, really, what protection do you have if tomorrow Coinbase was like, yeah, we're closing shop and taking the money and run? It's not like really governed by the government. It's just kind of something we trust in theory works.
That's also banking.
Yeah,
there's no backing of the money. A bank could close and be like, oh no, something happened to all your money. It went into our pockets, but we don't know where it went. Because once upon a time, all the money was backed by gold, but we stopped doing that. And so, if everyone would try to pull out their money at once, there'd be a problem because they would be able to.
You have the $200,000 backed by FDIC, at least, from like if the bank closed tomorrow.
But if every single customer, look, for those who probably in school learned about the Great Depression, that the way that banks terribly handled things could happen again. Anyways, so this NFT thing, I don't understand it. I think it's just a gimmick, and at least one guy has been caught trying to make money off of someone else's stuff, but that's not really new. There are tons of developers out there, artists out there, writers out there that are, basically stealing people's shit left and right.
You know what that means we need?
What?
The Ultimate Fusion NFT.
No.
Via your brain doodle. No, you should turn your brain doodle into an NFT. I don't know how that actually works.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how that works. How about this?
It sounds magical. Like, we know what an NFT is. We can make it work.
I will just set up a store page, and this would take for fucking ever, but I will take a picture of every single one of my brain doodles, which is 233 now, and I'll post them in batches, and you can buy batches, and I'll send them to you. Because I
what if it was a Patreon reward?
True, but it would have to be higher than the current thing.
What about a wall? What if? Ooh, I could wallpaper my behind me with your brain doodles. What do you think? I could get like a little green screen, and I could like tape all of your brain doodles on there behind me.
Sure, if you want to.
I think we're onto something here.
For those out there who may not know this, well, of course, if you're watching the show, either live or recorded, I have a tendency to do brain doodles during certain situations. Now, of course, if you're listening to the audio, I can't really show you a brain doodle, but...
Do you have any to show us now?
Yes, I do. Hold on one second.
Nice.
I have to go get my box of brain doodles.
You have a box?
Yeah, here's all the brain doodles.
You should put a lock on that box. You don't want your NFT of Ultra Confusion to get stolen or lost.
Jay Steph says NFT is like eBay on steroids, but digital. Let's see here. Here is the brain doodle that I actually did with Zelius at Battle and Brew on Friday. So there's the brain doodle. And each one is different. So
is there actually like a way to win the maze, or is it just an open-ended
It's
maze?
not a maze.
Oh, it looks like a maze.
It does look like a maze, but it's not a maze.
You should make mazes. You could sell them to children's books.
I try to make mazes, but I get kind of lost in making them, and then I can't remember what path I was going to do.
See, maybe that'll hold your attention more.
No, I won't do that. Anyways, currently 233 brain doodles.
I'm actually impressed you've kept track of your number.
I
would have lost track after like 7.
Well, so...
Do you number them?
I didn't... Well, I do now. I didn't do it at first, but I decided, well, shit, I don't know how many of these things I'm actually doing. So I went through one day and just started writing the number. And, I mean, I've been numbering them basically as I do them since like 198, I think.
So you can get like brain doodle number 198 out of 213.
Yeah.
Like,
233.
You're buying priceless artwork.
Exactly. Anyways, so...
What about a shirt of brain doodles?
I don't think that would be very comfortable unless I were to make a brain doodle design and print it on a shirt.
Exactly.
Interesting. How does it feel when you create them? It helps me clear my brain. It helps me kind of silence the craziness in my brain so I can have conversations. And as Zelius pointed out, apparently it slows down my drinking.
By about 75%.
Exactly. So my body can fill up faster and I don't need an extra 2 or 3 rounds.
It's like instead of thinking about drinking, you're thinking like only about the brain doodle.
Well, I'm doing the brain doodle and thinking about stuff. Let's say, J-Stev, when I draw, I escape into my own world. Technically, yeah, I do that as well. So, moving on to the next story. This one, so if you have Netflix, you've probably noticed that they did a He-Man series, and then they're also going to do an additional, like, they have like this He-Man series that's basically spearheaded by Kevin Smith, which immediately I have to check it out. And by the way, amazing. And then they're going to have an additional animated He-Man series coming out. Now, not to be outdone by Netflix, Amazon has just announced that they will be creating a live-action version of She-Ra, which was the female version of He-Man, which was smart back in the day. And to be honest with you, it's interesting. I'll probably have to check it out. you had He-Man, which was just like testosterone for little boys. And then, She-Ra was the answer so that girls could get into, super vigilant, sword-wielding, badass girls.
So like Valkyries.
Yeah, exactly. Which, okay, Amazon is trying to grab a bunch of series. I think Amazon has seen what Netflix is doing, and they're like, if we do not start grabbing all these freaking IPs, Netflix is going to have them all. So they're like, okay, She-Ra, Wheel of Time, The Boys, which is a graphic novel, Wheel of Time. How many books was that? 14?
I think so.
A ton. J-Stev, She-Ra, Brother Loved, He-Man. I had a huge... Basically, I grew up with watching He-Man, G.I. Joe... Oh, what was the other one? There's another one that I can't remember off the top of my head, but I watched the shit out of some cartoons back in the day. So we'll see. I don't know. I think they just literally announced it, so they're partnering. Let's see. Thundercats. A live-action Thundercats. That'd be kind of cool.
Of course, the question is always, does Amazon take the Netflix route of basically throwing all kinds of random shit against the wall and see what sticks, or they go the more like HBO route where they create more highbrow content, some may call it.
I think they're probably going to lean more towards the Netflix version of doing things, where we'll give you a season, and if it sucks, we'll move on. Let's be honest. Amazon has a shit ton of money. Now, I don't want to get into...
It's all in space.
Exactly. It's all in space now. It's on the dark side of the moon. I don't want to get into... Now, of course, speaking about Amazon having lots of money brings up the topic of DMCA. J-Steph says, how do you feel about recreations over new creations? Okay. If you are going to remake or remaster something, I want to see, I don't know, it's all about quality for me. I want to see something that blows my socks off. It's got to be more than a port with, maybe just like one or two fancy upgrades. In terms of games, when it comes to TV shows, I'd have to say that if you're going to basically grab an old IP, I want it to have a little bit of that nostalgia, but at the same time, have a little extra on top of it that stays true to the original IP. I don't want you to redo. We'll just go with He-Man, since He-Man is what I've been talking about. I don't want you to redo He-Man and have them now in present day Earth with Castle Grayskull becoming, I don't know, Caesar's Palace or something like that. Here's the thing, and I've mentioned this many, many times. If you're going to utilize a title of an IP, and this is especially true for movies, make it true to the IP. If you're going to make a movie about Transformers, you need, basically, the movie is a bunch of robots and a couple of humans. It is not a couple of robots and the U.S. Army. Sorry.
I guess if it's the original source, I don't really care, honestly. For me, is the product good? Because, chances are that for whatever that original source content from is, if I saw, let's just take He-Man. Mm-hmm. I haven't seen the cartoon since I was a kid, so really what happened doesn't matter to me anymore. Like that's such in the distant past where I really don't care if it uses the source material as long as it's good. The problem with Transformers wasn't that it didn't use the original source material well, it's that it was terrible. So for me, I don't care really about whether or not it uses the source material well.
If you,
Because
but
every
if
source material is built on something else. It's kind of there's no such thing as original thought. So who really cares what it's built on as long as it's good?
but many would say in order for it to be good, it needs to be true to the source material.
That doesn't really bother me. Like whatever. I mean, like take Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings stuck pretty well to the source material.
Yes, but
But that's not.
let's say
But
they
that,
do a remake of Lord of the Rings, but instead of there's a character named Gandalf, but he's an ugly ass troll with bright red hair that just eats hobbits for breakfast. How does that make you feel?
if it's good, sure. I mean, that's what they
Oh, it's going to be
basically did.
terrible.
Like,
It's going to be U bowl quality.
that well, then that's not about the source quality. That's just being terrible.
That,
Um,
right.
like, but you could be good. Like, I thought the Sword of Truth TV series was good. Um, it didn't get extended, but I thought it was good. It was an absolute bastardization of the books. No two ways about it. But I still enjoyed it. Um, and there's another series just like that I had a total brain fart on. We went 2 seasons. I thought it was enjoyable. It used like basically the original idea of like, hey, there's a guy searching for a sword of power. We're gonna go with that. Everything else has nothing to do with the books, and we're okay with that.
Okay, so
I was
Jay,
fine with that. And I enjoyed all the series greatly, regardless of whether or not they followed the books, because the content in the new medium was good enough. So I didn't care that I didn't really follow the books.
all right, fine. I'm a purist, damn it.
I know you are.
Okay.
Um,
Jay,
so for me, yep, whatever. Um, it doesn't really phase me one way or the other. What I will say to your point, though, is I think there is a correlation most likely between quality because if a original content is good enough or popular enough to warrant a make on another medium, then most likely that original story is good enough to go ahead and follow that regardless. So in that regard, it probably makes a creative, logical sense to go ahead and follow that source material because we know it's already good enough. Now, if that new director or story writer can come up with a new great storyline for the movie or TV series, then that's great.
okay. Okay, fine, whatever. Jay Steph says, I think the point he's making is the things we are referencing are original, so why aren't they creating new stuff? Easy. Untested IPs scare the shit out of publishers. It's much, much easier to bank on nostalgia and fandoms on old titles and redo them. They try something a little bit different. Sure, potentially it could work, but unfortunately 7 out of 10 times it's going to be, unless marketing is amazing, there's a very good chance that it's going to fall flat on their face because people will be like, I don't know. I've never heard of this. It sounds interesting. Maybe. I don't know. Um, Also, Hollywood can't make Star Trek new ideas that keep going backwards. Yes. Well, I mean, that's exactly. You're going to have a captain of a ship. They're going to go on adventures to strange new worlds and seek out new life and new civilization to boldly go where no man has gone before. Except for the fact that the vast majority of all the Star Trek shows basically go near the same areas and interact with the same races. So technically, they are their own. They are lying about doing it. Their own people are actually kind of contradicting the point, the what they're trying to sell.
And if it still makes bank, I mean, like Star Wars, that's a series or Star Trek. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, well, Star Wars more than Star Trek, I would say, still print money. So from that perspective, there's no reason not to. But I think that's a good case though, where like the new trilogy, kind of somewhat try to follow the original source material from a storyline perspective,
Right.
but it still came up flat. It's like in that case, it's almost like they've tried to rely on the original material
Wait,
too
still came out
much.
flat.
What?
The last movie was the only one that came out flat.
I wasn't entirely impressed with any of the three ones. Really, the only one I was actually impressed with was Rogue Squadron, Rogue One.
Okay.
That's
You
the one
keep
that
okay, Zelius. You need to stop switching back and forth between Star Wars and Star Trek.
Star
You
Wars.
No,
I'm
you
always
said
talking Star
Star
Wars
Trek
here.
fell flat. I'm like, what the hell are you
Sorry,
talking about?
I meant
Okay.
Star Wars the whole time.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Well, to
Yeah.
be honest with you, I think the first three in chronological order. Okay. So technically, it's the second three and the third three, but in chronological order, it's the first three and the last three where they had couple moments, but
And I would say my order personally would be the middle three, the last three, and then the first three are the worst, in my opinion.
oh yeah. Well, the funny thing is that when they started doing, I mean, the acting was terrible as well, but the what was supposed to happen was Jar Jar was actually a Sith, but everyone hated Jar Jar so much that they basically had to shove him away.
Okay, Reddit conspiracy theorist.
No, that's the they actually came out and said it.
I don't really actually believe that. I think it was more of a acknowledgement of what the internet was thinking. It was like a tongue-in-cheek agreement.
No, if you actually looked at what Jar Jar did, oh god damn it. If you actually look at what Jar Jar did during those first three movies, he accidentally fucks up every time.
I don't believe the story writers were actually intelligent enough to actually have that long-term of a vision based on how bad the movies were.
I think they put too much emphasis on trying to make Jar Jar stand out, and so they fucked everything. How about that?
Okay, I think we can all agree on that.
Yay! Comes down to writers that can really write. And the sad thing is, most writers can't. And so they're going to try to drum up shit that's slightly different than something that has existed and been popular forever.
How about this? Star Wars directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, dear Jesus. Well, first of all, Samuel L. Jackson will be involved in it somehow.
He'll be resurrected. It's fine.
J-Steph, look at Marvel. They hit so many notes because they were staying. That's the thing. They were staying true to the formula, but at the same time, they were adding new twists, new, of course, there are a couple of the MCU movies you're just kind of like, but okay.
Like the most recent, I mean, hopefully this isn't a spoiler at this point.
Don't
But the
do
most
it.
recent, the last Star Wars movie when Palpatine came back, like I think the audience had like an audible groan. Like,
Yes, they did.
like
Oh my God,
really,
rated R Star Wars would be epic.
like really, and that's I think that's I think to your point, that's what Marvel does well is they continue to come out like they'll also try new things. Like what is it, the Ten Rings movie or whatever it's called?
Yeah,
Legend of the
that's
Ten Rings.
that's
Or
breaking box office
or
for.
when they did Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yep.
like they're willing. I mean, yes, you could argue that some of their stuff is formulaic.
Formulaic.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome.
But they also are at least willing to actually try new and interesting things. And I'll go back to Rogue One as being the best Star Wars movie because they tried something new.
That's Gary
Still
Whitta,
that universe.
who's an amazing writer, by the way.
Who was the writer?
Gary Whitta. He also did Book of Eli.
Yeah. And so they tried something new. It was great. And I felt like they also weren't burdened by like the weight of the rest of Star Wars. I mean, it was still fit into the universe, but it's not like they were trying to have a harken back to old things Star Wars like every Star Wars movie tries to do.
Okay, so basically, if you cut out the Skywalkers, because that is just overly done.
Yes.
Then you'll be fine. Oh shit! What was I gonna say?
Like I was even okay with Rey and what's the guy's name?
Finn.
No, the Sith guy.
The Sith guy. Oh.
Yeah. With the
Kylo Ren.
Yeah, Kylo Ren. Like I was fine with, like I enjoyed their storyline. It did it like I'm like, all right. It just yeah. Yeah. Apparently, I haven't actually watched them. From what I've read, though, and you've probably seen them, is really the Star Wars cartoons are where it's at.
Yes, I'm gonna be completely honest. Even the Star Wars Lego series are really good, and they're funny, and they make fun of the characters, make some of them like bumbling idiots, but it's done so well that you're okay with it, and it also adds new material as well. Now, I do want to take just a moment to give you give our friends of the show a little bit of a shout out. Well, not a little bit of a shout out. Let's give them a shout out. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let us start with the one and only Indie Cluster. The Indie Cluster is an organization of independent game developers that want to gain exposure by being involved in the community. They collectively journey to popular conferences as a traveling booth to help gain attention for their games. They make partnerships in local communities to bring games to the mainstream mindset. They highlight local, unusual, and rare concepts to challenge the paradigm of the common. They also host events to teach kids and minority groups about game development to hopefully one day enter the industry themselves. If you want more information, go to indiecluster.com. That's INDIECLUSTER.com. Now, of course, the next one that I've got to do a shout out for is the new kid in town. I'm switching up a little bit, Zelius. And that, of course, is Noodle Boy Media. Noodle Boy Media, founded in 2015 by Andrew Tran. Noodle Boy Media, previously Whacked Kid 47 Media, is your choice for professional photo shoots and panel recordings at conventions. They pride themselves in providing a high level of professionalism, top-notch experiences, and quality services. If you want more information and to view their full list of services, check out facebook.com/noodleboymedia. And finally, the awesome Hero Chiropractic. Hero Chiropractic is a unique healthcare practice set up by Ryan Moore. The company's focus to elevate a patient's experience of freedom, creative expression, and joy. They believe that everyone can be a hero and has incredible heroic potential inside themselves waiting to be unleashed. Hero Chiropractic focuses on mobile chiropractic care in the greater Atlanta area. They are committed to healing clients by creating a plan of action uniquely suited for each person. They make that plan of action as convenient and affordable as possible, and most importantly, suited to your individual needs. If you want more information, go to www.herochiropractic.com. Now, as is always the case, we want to do a couple Alta Confusion, little hellos ourselves. So let us start off with the most important one, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, for the 10th year straight, we will be fundraising for Extra Life. Extra Life is gamers doing what they do best, game, to help sick and injured children at their chosen Children's Miracle Network hospital. The money that we raise through Extra Life will go directly to our chosen hospital, which of course is Children's Healthcare Atlanta, as unrestricted funds. This means the hospital decides where and how to spend the money to ensure the dollars we raise make the biggest impact in the lives of the kids they treat. So if you have the capacity to donate, please go to extra-life.org and search for Altered Confusion. Now, some of you might be wondering, how do I get added to the friends of the show? Well, you're in luck. I'm about to tell you. Ladies and gentlemen, Alter Confusion has a Patreon. and we survive on the love and support of fans like you. Patreon lets you, the fans, supporters, lovers, haters, demons, monsters, angels, robots, and any other type of life form out there, to become active participants in the work we love through a monthly membership. This will give you access to exclusive content, community, and insight into our creative process. In exchange, we gain a bit more freedom to do our best work and the stability we need to build an even stronger creative career. Currently, there are 2 tiers available. There is a $1 tier, which of course is $12 a year, and that will gain you the ability to have early access to our playthroughs, and of course, the ability to take part in polls to help shape Altered Confusion. Now, the next step up, ladies and gentlemen, is the $5 tier. The $5 tier, or $60 a year, will put your name or organization in the thank you section for every Thursday night hangout. And of course, at that $5 a month, $60 a year tier, you will also gain the early access to playthroughs and the polls to help shape Altered Confusion. So, if you're interested, go to www.patreon, that's patreon.com/altered confusion. Now, since we have one of our fans that loves for me to do this next part, ladies and gentlemen, if maybe financial support is not something you could do right now, but you want to, basically show off something with Altered Confusion, I've got good news for you. You can mail us something for us to show off on our show, or maybe do an unboxing video. And all you need to do, ladies and gentlemen, is send it to 1551 Dunwoody. That's DUNWOODY Village Parkway. And this is super duper 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 important number. And if you do not put this there, it will not get to us. Number 88276. The city, of course, once again, Dunwoody, DUNWOODY, Georgia, zip code 30338. Ta-da! All right. So, with the time we have left, we've got a couple topics left to talk about. And I'm going to go with the Twitch topic first, and that is Twitch is actually suing a couple of individuals that are creating hate raids, mostly targeting those in minority or those of a certain sexual persuasion and whatnot. So, ironically, I don't know if they've actually released the names, but I know that 2 of the big parts of these hate raids are from Europe. And basically what they have is they have a shit ton of different Twitch accounts that they kind of mass together and just, basically spam the shit out of a channel, but with derogatory terms and, inappropriate stuff. Now, of course, up to this point, Twitch is like, you should not do that because it's mean. So Twitch or Amazon finally doing something is nice. But at the same time, it took a freaking protest to really get the wheels turning. Some of you probably remember hashtag #BeBetterTwitch. And that actually culminated in a mass amount of streamers taking off a day in support of needing shit to work. Or basically to be fair, to protect the streamers no matter who they are.
Can't people just not be asshats? Wouldn't that be just a wonderful solution to start with?
It's the beauty of the internet. Anonymity allows for people to be their true selves, which unfortunately the vast majority of the world their true selves without consequences. And that is, they are dicks. And they think it's cool to try to rip people a new one because they can't get caught. Or it's much harder to get caught.
Pretty much.
And, the unfortunate thing is with a lot of these, online websites and whatnot, where you're having to deal with this type of hate speech, it's pretty, there a lot of the, protection is literally they just ban the account, but that doesn't stop you from opening a new account, which unfortunately happens the vast majority of the time. Or someone's got a bunch of alt accounts already set up, so when you shut down their main one, they just switch over to the next one.
Well, that's trivial. I mean, to have a Tor set up, a VPN set up, have an onion router set up. So there's a whole plethora of ways for these asshats to basically, you ban one person and half a second later, a gremlin imitator appears next to it.
Right.
And there's not always a whole lot, especially as a moderator, you can do if they really want to target you.
Well, that's the thing, is that these hate raids, in case, basically in case there are moderators, these hate raids have such a vast number of users, most of them bots, that the moderator can't keep up.
Yeah.
And it, basically just destroys the show. Now, there's also a lot of streamers who are their own moderators. And so there's nothing you could do.
Well, unfortunately, the options aren't great because really, two options are. One is you prevent new accounts like you can restrict it. Like they have to be like a member or a Patreon, or like there's different ways you can set it up. But the reality is for a lot of these Twitch streamers, especially if they're, if they're not the big multimillionaire ones, like they need every single one of those hits to make their money. And if they
just to be discovered.
Or to be discovered, yes. If they raise the bar at all to try to stop the hate raids, they're going to actually end up, unfortunately, killing their audience at the same time. So any of those kind of like ideas of like, well, you could do this or that, it all comes down to it would basically kill it because, you have the fickle asshats, but the audiences in general on Twitch are extremely fickle. I mean, think about how many, Fortnite streamers you have. You have thousands of them. So if a big part of Twitch is the interacting, right? That's why we do this, is you want to interact with your audience. And if I'm going to go watch a Twitch stream, I want to interact with that streamer.
Right.
And if I cannot easily interact with that streamer, well, I'll go find another streamer who I can interact with.
Yep.
So that makes it doubly hard to have any kind of barrier of entry to being able to interact, unfortunately. So not a lot of great solutions to this dilemma.
Agreed. Now, Zelius, was talking about popular channels and also popular games on Twitch. And one of them, which unfortunately the game has grown stale, and so the viewership has been going down for quite a while. That, of course, is Overwatch. And they made the announcement that I think it was the championship will be on Overwatch 2? Like, they're the backbone of it or something like that. So, Zelius, do you remember all the details?
Wait, what?
Remember? Oh, gosh, I'm going to have to pull it up now.
You said like 3 different sentences. I'm very confused what your question is.
My question is, can you help me get more information about the fact that oh shit, where'd it go? Overwatch League 2022 season will use an early build of Overwatch 2.
Oh, I heard a lot of twos. Yes, I mean, I guess that's one way to beta test Overwatch 2.
But at the same time, like,
I don't know, because like the original, so back in the days of Jeff Kaplan, the original theory was going to be that basically Overwatch 2 was basically a PvE, player versus environment, add-on, basically, of Overwatch 1, meaning if you had Overwatch 1, you would still get all the same PvP elements and characters as the Overwatch 2, just without all the PvE stuff. But now who the hell knows what that means? I have a feeling that's something that Kaplan was pushing for to try not to segregate the audit to separate your get player base.
Right.
Whereas now, my guess is, it's Blizzard Activision. And so it's like, aha, if it's a completely new game that they have to purchase completely new, then it's more money in the bottom line, right? That's my assumption of where it's going now. Whereas basically Overwatch 2 is going to be like, you need Overwatch 2 to play the game.
So, I mean, it really comes down to Activision wearing the Blizzard costume, because Activision's been systematically destroying Blizzard, but they want to keep the name because of name recognition.
Yep.
I think there's a report that just came out about the Diablo 2 port to the Switch. Thankfully, first of all, I'm not going to buy it for the Switch, but if I were, thankfully, this thing that's heavily limited would have no effect to me on that is the multiplayer aspect. Which,
how's it limited? I didn't see that, honestly.
I don't remember.
That's a huge part of Diablo 2 is the multiplayer.
I'll have to hold on. Let me look it up real quick.
Because before all this crazy shit came out, I was actually considering buying Diablo 2 for the Switch. I'm not now with everything that's come out, but originally I was like, ooh, Diablo 2 on the Switch, that'd be fun to play when I'm in bed. I mean, that's a winning combination, right? But same thing, J-Stev. I mean, I used to play a lot of Overwatch, and every couple of months, I'll try spinning it up, but the lack of new maps and new characters, new gameplay, I play it, I'm like, oh, this is the same game I've already put hundreds of hours into with absolutely zero change. And after a couple of matches, I just lose all motivation to continue playing because it's the same ladder game I played for years. So it sucks because the core game is fantastic. Like the core characters, there's great balance between the different characters. The maps are fun, so it's a great FPS. It's just stale.
Just release some new characters and some new maps, for fuck's sakes. You have all these newcomers that have already produced rosters that are like triple the size of Overwatch, and they add maps systematically, or at least redo the map to make it look sexy. Go Zealous.
I say it's kind of ironic that it's like what they're doing now is what actually made Blizzard 10 years ago, meaning that they perfected their product and then they just haphazardly throw shit out.
Agreed.
But that worked 10 to 15 years ago. And it's not the same couldn't work now. Like that same concept for Blizzard could still be applicable today if there wasn't a giant pile of steaming shit around them outside of that. That's the problem. Is they have this one little product, Overwatch, where it's like they're trying to be that perfect product that they used to have, but unfortunately they've shown that's not who they are anymore of actually releasing great content. And now I'm very cynical that anything they release post Overwatch is going to be anything but a heaping pile of crap.
Okay, so I would be, I'll take a slightly different angle of this. I think that, Blizzard, as they've gone on, throughout the years, they, of course, have been like, we're not going to release it until it's amazing and nearly perfect. But I think the problem is that those type of games that they released, they have StarCraft, you had 3 playable races. And Diablo, you had, depending on which Diablo you're playing, you had X amount of classes. And then it really, yes, there is a possibility that they would add a class, but the vast majority of the time, it is set. Yeah. And so I fear that they took that same concept into Overwatch going, all right, this game is perfect for this set of characters. But everybody else is going, is tweaking the characters, and they are, Overwatch just came out with, I think, Bridget's they're removing the shield bash, I think.
That's her stuns.
Right.
For Overwatch 2, yeah.
Right, but
it's a major part of her kit, so that's interesting.
You have to create new content. In order to survive, especially in the multiplayer realm, you have to create new content. You can't survive off of one big push for, for a long time. Oh, for the love of God. Okay, Sam, Battlefield 1, you're not stuck as a tank or a DPS or support or, depending on, their terminology, flanker, or what's the other one? What do you, there's 4 classes.
And what?
In most of these,
FPSs?
No, not FPSs, but more of like the RPG kind of like MOBA standard, where you have your tank.
Damage support, tank, and maybe flanker or jungle or something along that variation.
There you go. Yeah, that's okay. Flanker, jungler. That okay. Yeah, that's okay. But you need to add stuff, man. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. You need to add shit.
Well, it's like even WoW is hurting. I mean, you've seen how. I mean, I haven't played, but I still follow the Final Fantasy 14 Reddit, and just to see how WoW is losing subscribers left and right, and you almost feel like a little bit of Blizzard's Overwatch strategy comes from World of Warcraft, where they don't do, seismic changes. They just kind of keep going until like a major release. It worked for WoW for 20 years almost, right?
But WoW but the thing is, WoW is adding content though. It's at this point you're just like, ooh, wow, you're tweaking the amount of people who could do a raid, or you're adding a new area or one new class that no one's going to play. But
it is definitely a different era of video games where you can't, I think to your point, stay in that same content forever, because there are so many new games all the times, especially in the multiplayer realm. Mm-hmm. And you have to be releasing new content to stay relevant. I mean, I know that's a strategy Paladins takes. They just throw shit against the wall with new characters, and maybe they'll be overpowered, maybe they'll suck, but we're going to try it anyways.
But there's this beautiful thing called tweaking the stats. Unfortunately, sometimes they fuck over a character that you get used to and take away or, decrease the amount of damage or speed or health, and you're like, you son of a bitch. But at least they're doing stuff. They're actively showing that they give a shit.
Yeah. And it's not like they need to release 4 new characters a month or something like other games do. It's even like something.
And add a new map every 4 months.
And they basically said, though, that they're not releasing anything until Overwatch 2, which I think further disincentivizes the Overwatch population as it is. Like, when it's like, maybe there's something on the horizon, but you've been told that, no, there's not. There's even more of a like, oh, well, that sucks.
The thing that really bothers me, though, is you have the Overwatch Pro League, and the buy-in to get a fucking team was like $24 million. How the hell are they getting away with this at this point, where they're not keeping the fan base, the professional players? I would, as an owner of one of these teams, I'd start knocking on the damn door going, seriously, guys, I don't know video games, but I could see that a lot of, the top talent is now going over to this other game, and this other game's popularity has already surpassed, Overwatch. So the new, the shininess and awesomeness of Overwatch is long past gone.
Well, I think that was definitely a case of, that was kind of the zenith of Overwatch's popularity. And new content for that matter. A correlation. And I think that was probably a little bit of a case of buyer's remorse on some of the owner's perspective, I think, to your point, because you're right. Like, I imagine I have no numbers to actually back this up. I would imagine that those Overwatch teams are not worth as much money as they were when they purchased them.
No.
Because of Overwatch is dwindling popularity because they just sat in their asses.
It's actually kind of ironic that there are players who left Overwatch for basically they joined another games team or whatever, which doesn't have the financial backing of these teams. And now with basically joining that new team up to now, they're probably making as much or if not more than they would have made if they had stuck with Overwatch, which is sad.
It's kind of crazy.
I agree. So the last story, I know we're almost out of time, but I just want to voice this real quick. If you are a major figure at a company or an organization or something, you cannot voice your opinion on something that to the vast majority of the world is controversial. That is the quickest way to get your ass kicked out the door, which is the case with I think it's the CEO. Is that right? Hold on, let me double check. The CEO of Tripwire Interactive. Yeah, it was CEO. Because he tweeted about his opinion on Texas's new abortion law.
Yep.
Oh, for God's sakes!
And
look, here's the thing. This is something that everybody who works at, basically who has a job, has to understand that you have to separate yourself. And if you're a CEO, you cannot separate yourself from the company. But if you're like the dishwasher at Long John Silver, you could probably get away with it as long as you don't post a bunch of fucking pictures of you working at Long John Silver, because then you're associated with that, which then will get your ass fired.
Well, I think it's also knowing your constituents. The reality is, if you work at certain jobs for certain employers,
yep,
you could have posted that tweet and been just fine.
True.
Whereas you can also, the same holds true in the reverse. Depending on your job, you could have tweeted out, this is an outrage that this happened in Texas, and certain employers would fire you for that, whereas certain employers would be perfectly fine with it. So, for better or for worse, that's the world we live in. Like, I know at my employer, there's certain things that I'm not going to post on Facebook. Like, it just wouldn't fly. And I fully acknowledge that. That's just, it is what it is. I don't always disagree with the politics, and that's okay. That's life. Mm-hmm. That's part of getting a job. But I recognize that, and like an adult, I accept that reality of life.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. So I really don't hold any sympathy over, the CEOs. They have to know, but that is their audience. And that's just the world we live in. And don't give me the stupid BS of cancel culture, because I could do the same thing. There are things I could post on Facebook tomorrow that would get me pulled into our head of school's office and fired tomorrow. And sorry, that's not cancel culture. That's just not being a dumbass.
Yes. Now, here's the other thing. If you are in a position of power and you're basically the face of the company, one of the other things that happened was a bunch of the companies that had a contract with Tripwire started pulling back. And that's the quickest way to shut down the entire company. Yep. Now, of course, Tripwire, I think it was like 52 hours after he posted that tweet, he's gone, which there are a shit ton of companies that wish that could happen at their place of business. Blizzard.
I know, it's kind of funny that in such a few hours, they already took more action than it seems like Blizzard has with this whole thing blowing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I imagine. Yeah.
So, anyways, you are entitled to your own opinions. I'm entitled to mine. I don't have to voice them to you. If you if you're dying to know my opinion, then I may tell you if I feel comfortable, or I may not. I am definitely not going to voice it on something as readily available as a podcast and a video cast. Now, that's not to say that I can't voice my opinion on stuff that I'm passionate about that's not as controversial right now. Like, if you're watching this show or listening to the show, I've voiced my opinion on taking IP's name alone and then shitting the rest of the movie. Okay? That's my opinion. Sam Grizzle says cancel culture promotes silence. Doesn't seem good for society in long run, but that's our reality. They're trying to make it. Okay, real quick, and then we're gonna wrap up the show. They're trying to make the loudest voices happy, which isn't always the majority. They might be the minority, but unfortunately, minority is usually the loudest. You can't. First of all, if you're, you have to think about your actions. You're in charge of yourself. 1, 2, like I said, you're entitled to your own opinion. You don't have to voice it. You probably shouldn't in certain cases. So, grow a pair, use your brain, and we love you.
I love you too, man.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately, we have reached the end of our show, but I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout. For myself, Charlie, and Zelius, it's been a pleasure giving you our heads, our mouths, and of course, our hearts. We'll be back I will be back definitely next Thursday. Zelius is I don't know. You just said that you didn't know if you're going to be here next Thursday, Zelius. Don't give me that frown.
Next Thursday, it's the following Thursday.
Okay, fine. Zelius and I will be back next Thursday for another exciting episode of the Ultra Confusion Thursday Night Hangout.
Remember, kids, keep on gaming in the free world.
Amen to that, brother.